All right. Hi, everybody. It's Adele Frizzell here with,
Tiffany Buck here.
and we're here today coming at you to talk about a couple things. One, my powerlifting meet, how it went. And two, what should you eat before you work out? It's actually a really popular question. So is what should I eat during my workout and what should I eat after my workout? And we'll talk about that in a future Facebook Live. But for today's purposes, we're going to talk about what to eat before you work out. So what do we want to kick it off with, Tiffany?
Well, you know what? Why don't we start off talking about your competition? I've got a couple of questions that I'm sure people would love to know about how that went. Like what was your prep like? What made you decide to compete in the first place? So let's start there. How
Okay.
long? And well, what made you decide that you wanted to do powerlifting? I guess that's a really good question too.
Oh, okay. So we're going way back.
Yeah, why
So
not?
I started lifting consistently since 2013. So 10 years. I got into it because I liked these athletic toned bodies that women had. And I knew you could only get that lifting weights. I'd always been strong and people told me that, but I had nothing to compare to. And then one day I was on Facebook, I think it was 2015, and I saw a girl bragging about how much she had benched and she had done really well at a competition. And I thought, well, I'm pretty sure I benched that and I'm not competing, So I checked out powerlifting. I went to a meet and I watched it. And then after the powerlifting meet was over, I chatted with a guy who was a coach, and he said, well, what do you bench? And I said, I really don't know. Well, he asked me what my 1 rep max was, right? Which is the maximum amount of weight you can bench. And I'm like, I don't know. I've never tested it. He goes, well, let's test it. And so I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and I got on a bench and we tested it. And he goes, that's pretty good. And he looked at me, he's like, that's enough to qualify you for like Alberta something or other. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe I should compete. So then I looked around for a meet and I went to it and I did okay. And then I did a couple meets and did all right, and just enjoyed the challenge of getting stronger every year. Then COVID happened and I haven't competed in a few years. We also moved around to different states a lot. So basically, I competed for a few years, had a few-year break, but I've been competing since 2015 and really enjoy it. Just, it's a weird thing, I guess, to want to just push a bunch of heavy weight off your chest, but I really like it. I
Yeah.
still train. Powerlifting is 3 events. It's bench press, deadlift, and squat. As much weight as you possibly can do with good technique, and you're judged on your technique. I do not compete in squat and deadlift because I have 2 hernias. I still do squats and deadlifts in the gym, but I don't max out my weight because I don't want to tear anything. So I just compete in bench press. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I think that it's fantastic. So you kind of went from, I'm just working out because I enjoy working out to, I probably could do that. So that's kind of interesting how
Yeah.
sometimes things that we are never on our radar kind of just go, bloop, oh, there it is.
That's right.
Why
I mean,
not?
I started lifting weights regularly at 43. I had little, I'd done it a bit and at 19 and in my 20s and stuff. But this just goes to show you're never too old to try something new, and you might find something that you're really good at that you didn't expect at all, right? So just keep trying new things. I think we get old because we stop trying new things. We stop experiencing some of the joy of life, and also experience, like, surprising ourselves,
Yeah.
and so it really was a pleasant surprise to see that I am naturally strong, and I've gotten stronger through a very structured training program, like a SMART training program, and working with different coaches and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, speaking of your training program, since you had been out for about 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
how long and how did you train for this competition?
Yeah, I mean, I actually went 6 months without even working out at one point, like in the gym. But I decided I picked a meet because meets help me focus, right? It's good to pick an event and then you work towards that, at least for me. And so rather than just sort of farting around the gym, I'm like, no, I'm doing this. And so I started in December and I wrote out weights that I wanted to hit January, February, March, April, May going into the meet. And basically, I'm looking at it right now. January, week 115-pound bench press, 10 reps. That was my goal. Like I was easing into it, and my whole goal was to prevent injury. Okay, I wasn't going to go super heavy right at the beginning. I was going to ease into it, get my tendons strong. I have to watch my right shoulder. I also went for massage 2 or 3 times a month as preventative maintenance to keep my shoulder healthy. Because if anything was going to put me out, it was going to be a shoulder injury.
I think it's
So
great that you knew that about yourself, though,
yeah,
and that
but
you were taking those proactive steps to prevent it.
well, you see, at my last meet that I remember, I went for a PR and I hurt myself. I hurt my right shoulder. I didn't get the lift. I went up and I couldn't lift it and they took the weight from me. And that was my third attempt. And a couple days later, my shoulder was so bad, I wasn't able to do any pressing movements for 5 months. So I was like, this is now a buggy shoulder and I have to be careful with it. So a good warm up. And so I would basically do full body workout 2 or 3 times a week. And then on Saturdays, heavy bench day. That was my main thing. And I would do a ton of warm up sets. And I had a goal and I just increased the weight on the bar 5 pounds every week. So in January, week 1, it was 115, next week, 120, 125, 130, February, 135, 140, 145, 150, 10 reps each, multiple sets. March is when I started hitting 155 pounds. The reps started coming down as the weight got heavier. 8 reps, 160, 7 reps. I did 8 reps. 165, I did 5 reps. 170, I did 5 reps. Then I did a deload because I was starting to accumulate a lot of fatigue in my body. And after a while, you can't keep making the progress like this. You actually risk injury and a lot of fatigue. So then I just took a week-long break of light weights, hit it again, 175, 180, 185. Now I hit 185 April 16th. My meet was not for 6 weeks. I thought, awesome. I'm like just, putting on the weight every week. 185, I got 6 weeks. I'm going to hit my goal of 200 pounds because it's been my goal for 5 years to bench 200 pounds. Then I got sick. I went into the gym the following week. I couldn't even lift 170. I'm like, what? I just did 185. What the hell? And I felt awful. And I had a deload. I didn't feel better coming back from the deload. I remember I was able to hit 170 pounds April 29th because I track everything, as you can see, 2 reps. I wrote feeling off, depleted, sick, fatigued, 10 days, no lifting. And I was like, I think I peaked 6 weeks early before my meet. I don't know, like this might be it. So I went I even thought about pulling out of the competition, which is kind of a poor attitude because I'm like, well, if I can't hit 200, why bother? Like if I can't do better than my last competition, why bother?
So what made you change your mind about pulling out of the competition?
Because I knew that's not the person I wanted to be.
Yes.
Like that's a quitter, right? And I was already like telling myself how it was going to be, and that's not a mindset. Like I was telling myself I was only going to hit 185 because I'd hit 185 was my best in the gym. I'm like, and generally on the platform, it's harder, like very strict form. I noticed at this meet, the judges were red lighting people for things I thought had good form. I just couldn't believe, I never saw people bomb so much on a powerlifting meet. But anyway, I decided, I know I'm doing it. I'm just going to do my best. Right. So I went in thinking I might only hit 185 on the platform, but I hit 193. And I'm really happy with that. It wasn't the 200 I wanted, but it was 10 pounds better than my last best competition. And it moved me into a master's category, when the next one is elite and then international elite. So I'm gunning for elite this year, which means worlds. So yeah.
that means that you probably plan on competing again. So when do you think you would want to compete again?
So I signed up. I decided not to do nationals. I'm going to focus on bodybuilding, dropping some weight, and in the next 3 months. And then I will go into another powerlifting meet in November in Utah. So, and my hope is to hit 200 then. So then that would be great, because I wrote that down as an annual goal for 2022 is bench 200. So 200 or more is what I hope to bench.
Awesome. I know that you're going to get it. You're right there. You're going to crush it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have faith in
You know, and it's good to have these cycles of like powerlifting where you're doing really heavy weight and lower reps, and bodybuilding with higher reps. It gives your joints a break, because you can get pretty beat up from lifting super heavy weights all the time. And so cycling, like even 3 months on of bodybuilding and then 3 months of, well, my powerlifting is never pure powerlifting. Like I do a bodybuilding with a bench press emphasis.
Yeah.
But even so, it's good not to be benching heavy all the time. And it resensitizes my muscles to growth. And so having this phasic approach, sort of 3 on, 3 off, 3 on, 3 off, always lifting weights, but doing different weights and stuff, different exercises, is just healthy for the body.
Yeah. So, how did you figure out what your numbers would be for your 3 attempts?
That's a good question. So I was basing them off my time in the gym, right? And I thought, well, 185 will be my, so your first attempt, you want to make it easy, because it gives you a lot of confidence. And at least if you don't, so if you bomb out on your first attempt, you have a high likelihood of bombing out on your others. And then your whole competition is a write-off, because you're not getting any kind of numbers, right? And so it's like getting knocked out in your first round. So the goal is you go in easy, and then you're psychologically primed, and at least you got some number down. So then number 2 is a little harder. Number 3 is when you really stretch yourself and you hit what you think will be your max lift. So originally I was going to go in at 165. I can hit that pretty much cold without a warm up. And I also, you don't know what the warm up will be like, because at some meets I've seen one bench press and everybody's trying to warm up on the one bench press. And it sucks, because if you're not warmed up, it's hard to hit the heavier weights. Fortunately, this guy had 4 bench presses going, and so that was awesome. So my goal was 165, then I was going to hit 175, and then I was going to hit 185. But that all changed. During the warm up, I hit 165, and it felt, I said to my husband, that felt harder than it should have, but let's go 170, because that was going to be my opener. But sometimes my first lift is harder because my central nervous system is kind of getting shocked from the heavier weights, and my second lift is a much better lift. It feels easier. So at 170, I'm like, oh, that felt actually easy. I think I might open with 170. And then that's what I did. I went to the judges. I said, can I change my opener? Because you have to declare them before. And they let me change it to 170. Then my next lift, I can't remember. I think it was about one, because you say it in kilos. I think it was 177.5 was my second, or maybe 175. I can't remember it. Then I got my third. And it was funny because the guys, the judges and the refs were like, you need to put more weight on that bar, because it was going up so easy, right? They were like laughing, like it was just easy. My first, my second, the third, they're like, you got to put more weight on the bar. When you get your third, if you get all 3 and you have, if you can set a state record, you're allowed a 4th. So for my 4th, I went with 193 pounds. And I was very tempted to go up to higher, but I thought, let's just be a little conservative. And I think I hit it within I might have been able to do 194 or 195, but that was it. I was very close to my edge. So they were all white lights on all of them, because you have 3 judges and they each give you a white or a red light. And I had 3 white lights from all 3 judges for every lift. So everything went perfect. It was my best meet.
That's awesome. I love that. So you kind of just played it. It's good that they let you go in and change your
Yeah.
starting weight.
I
That's
had
great.
I had a conservative plan going in because I still had a cold.
Mhm.
And again, my best was 185 in the gym. I didn't expect to go above 185, but in the warm up, I felt pretty good. So that changed everything. And fortunately, I had my husband behind the curtain helping me with the warm up, and he's trained with me for for years now. So he knows if I got, he knows where I'm kind of close to my edge. He can see the bars going up real slow and grinding and be like, I don't think you have another rep in you, or he can call them pretty good now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm like you in the aspect of sometimes like I do that first heavy-ish lift and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that was a lot tougher than I thought it was gonna be. Let's see how it feels. And you do it the second time and you're like, bam, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay.
It almost jumped out of your hands going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this, but strength is muscular, but it's also your nervous system. So when you're lifting really heavy weights, you're sort of wiring your nervous system to lift heavy loads, to not balk at the heavy loads. Stories of women just pushing cars off of their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this potential that we don't express because our nervous system and our wiring, it kind of protects us from turning on all of our muscle fibers at one time, because you could basically have your muscles tear right off your bone. And
Yeah.
so you have this inhibition that is there to protect you. And what's happening, and this is like super basic explanation, but what's happening as you lift heavier and heavier loads is you're basically telling your body, turn on these turn this on and go. It's okay. It's safe to express this strength.
Yeah, because whenever we're exercising, we only use a small portion of the muscle fibers that we actually have. So you're really sending that signal to engage more muscle fibers at once.
Exactly. Well, very well explained.
Thanks.
So,
All right, so I saw a Facebook post that you posted and it showed the day of the competition. You kind of were feeling overwhelmed and you just went outside and you needed a minute outside in nature to kind of reset yourself. And I guess that kind of makes me wonder, how do you prepare yourself mentally the day of and the day before for a competition?
So that post, I talked about how I can be overwhelmed in artificial environments with a lot of stimulation. So this was in a hotel convention type of thing, basement, lots of artificial lighting, lots of noise echoing around, heavy metal music. I got nothing against it. I listen to it sometimes, but it was on these speakers and they're making calls and the crowd's cheering, and it's just a lot of noise. And after a couple hours of that, I could feel the energy just leaving my body. And it's weird, but it's like my cold was coming back. And I told my husband, I just don't feel good. Like I feel worse than I felt a couple hours ago. And he's like, go outside in nature. You'll feel better. And he says, I will call you when it's time to warm up. So I went outside the hotel and I laid down and I just looked at the clouds and the sun and felt the breeze and heard the birds, and I felt like the energy coming back. And so for me, I need quiet time or I become overstimulated. And at these powerlifting meets, you see all kinds of people. Like I saw one guy in the corner, he had noise canceling headphones and he was meditating cross-legged. I'm like, that's my people right there, but then you see other people, and I thought I had to be like this in the beginning because you learn from others, right? And their coaches are slapping them and grabbing their shoulders and yelling at them and getting them super amped up. Like they want to be slapped on the back and hit and yelled at, and that's not me, right? But it gets them amped and it gets their nervous system going. Some will use smelling salts. I bought smelling salts at one time. They did not, they had the opposite effect. And I think for me, my nervous system is already pretty sensitive, that when you put it over the top like that, my performance suffers, right?
Yeah.
My best performances have always been when I'm very calm and centered. And so I don't do that stuff. I avoid being overly stimulated. So my preparation really, like, of course it started in January with the lifting, but mentally the day before was just perfect. My husband and I, we did the equipment check in the morning. We went for a very nice breakfast. We went for a walk in nature around the river, a couple miles. I got a foot massage. We had a nice dinner. We went for another walk. I mean, it was like we had boba tea. It was the ideal day. I'm like, okay, I had boba tea. I had yummy food. I had a foot massage. I walked in nature. I got a room with a jetted tub and a bubble bath. I mean, it was like the ideal day, right? So I think just having such a great day beforehand, so relaxing, really helped.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I want to go do all that right now. Let's go. Let's go do it. Oh man. So this next question can kind of be like a segue into the topic today, but let's talk a little about nutrition. What did you eat before, during, and after the event? You just talked about, the breakfast the day before, but what about the day of?
So the day of, I had some electrolytes, and I pretty much, like, I've become a lot less neurotic about what to eat over time with experience. So I kind of ate what I wanted to eat, right? The day before, I'm trying to remember what we had for dinner and stuff. Like, I had the boba tea. We had a nice dinner. Oh, we went for Chinese food. And then the morning of, I was a little nervous about what to eat because I wasn't sure if I was going to lift right away. And I was worried about overeating and still having undigested food in my stomach. So we went to this breakfast place at 7 a.m. And I didn't eat lightly, but I didn't eat a lot, right? We split two dishes, a savory and a sweet dish. I had like pulled chicken on tostados. It was just with roasted vegetables and things like that. And then the other one, we split like these almond croissants or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, they were really good. And I had like half of a croissant, and I had most of the tostados and a plain coffee because I felt like a milky coffee would be too filling. And then I thought I might have to lift in 2 or 3 hours, and that would be sufficient because ideally I want to have digested all my food but not be hungry. Well, the fact was I didn't lift until 1 o'clock. So then I had, between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. I had to eat something.
Mhm.
So I had rice pudding because for me carbs are really effective. Simple carbs.
Did you bring that with you, or was it
Yep.
something that was at the event? Yeah.
No, we grocery shopped. I had Gatorade, rice pudding. I don't know if I ate much else than that. I might have had a few crackers. I didn't have much of an appetite, and that was enough. Yeah.
So did you eat anything special afterwards to kind of refurbish your body?
Yeah, what did we eat out? Oh, maybe that's when we went for Chinese food afterwards. Gosh, I have it in my photos. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take because I took pictures of a lot of the food I ate in Bend, Oregon. I will post them. I'll post all
Nice.
my meals. Yeah.
Ooh, you guys get like a special look into Adele's
Yeah.
nutrition plan.
Yeah. I didn't take a picture of the cinnamon bun that I had. I had a little
Man.
cinnamon bun. I had like some carrot cake. I didn't take pictures of those, but everything else I think I took pictures of. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh man, so that's awesome. I think that kind of leads us into our questions today, because a lot of people ask us, what should I eat before my workout to get the best results and stuff like that.
A well-rounded meal. Yeah. Yeah, that's the best thing. Well, should we talk about then what to eat before a workout to get the best results?
Sure.
All right.
I think that's a great time to get into that a little
Yeah.
bit.
So, well, let's break it down into three things, like when to eat and what to eat. And then at the end, we'll talk about listening to your body, because I really believe that's important. But when to eat, as you can tell from like what I already talked about, is you want to eat 2 to 3 hours before you work out, ideally, because you don't want all this blood going to your stomach to digest your food, and when you want it to be going to your muscles while you're working out. And if you're working out really intensely, you can also barf, and you don't want that, right? So I recommend 2 to 3 hours before you work out. But then it begs the question, well, what if I work out in the mornings at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.? I'm not getting up at 4 or 5 to eat, right? So if you get up really early, then I would recommend you have a small snack, maybe 45 to 60 minutes before you work out, or you can bring a protein shake and sip on it during your workout. So you're getting something. There's a myth out there that you will burn more fat if you work out in a fasted state. This is not true. In a 24-hour period, you will not burn more calories if you eat the same amount of food in a day. The same. So let's say you ate 2,000 calories in a day, but you decide to do no eating until after your workout. It's not going to make a difference. You're not going to lose more weight. You're not going to burn more fat than if you ate something before you worked out and you still had 2,000 calories in a day. In fact, your performance could take a hit, and it might not be as optimal for muscle development. So I would have a protein shake and sip on it during your workout. If you're one of these people who just cannot stomach much food, you could also have half a banana beforehand, and just keep it real small.
I've done that before, like not had time to eat, so I'll just grab like a banana or something quick, because I know that the banana, again, those carbs are going to help me get through that workout too.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to have enough fuel so that your performance is really good in the gym, right? And you are getting the results you want. So
yeah. So basically, other than when to eat, the next thing is what to eat. But like we were just talking about, carbs, you want a really good balanced meal or snack. You want to have a nice ratio of carbs to fat, and even our carbs, protein, and a little bit of fat too. Because your muscles run on glycogen, and then whenever you're working out, your body is using that glycogen to help you with your performance. If you are depleted of glycogen, then your performance is not going to be as good as it could have potentially been. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Like I remember when I was doing the HCG diet and working out in the gym, my blood sugar just tanked and I felt awful. I actually had to stop my workout and get some sugar in me. I ran next door to this pizza joint, got a Coke, drank the Coke, felt amazingly better in 20 minutes when I got the blood sugar back, and finished my workout. Like I was almost seeing spots, and like it was horrible until I had something. So those carbs are really helpful during a workout. But ideally you want to have a well-rounded meal before you work out of carbs, protein, and fats. Why? Because it'll be good for your digestion. It will be good for your blood sugar, and it's just healthier to get all those nutrients in. Yeah. And not just have like a cinnamon bun or a Pop-Tart or something like that.
My goodness, Pop-Tarts.
At least have something, yeah. And I guess, like the bottom line is your goal is to add muscle or to train for peak performance, right? And so eating ahead of time is going to help you get the most out of your workout. That said, again, if you're one of these people, I just can't, eat something small or take a protein shake with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So something that could be a good option is, you've got little things like half a banana and half a cup of non-fat plain Greek yogurt. That could be something really easy, hard-boiled eggs or an apple. You mentioned protein shakes, but you can also have like raisins or nuts too. That could help as well. Overnight oats is a great, easy source too. Overnight oats can sometimes, personally, for me, I have to eat them a little bit further away from my workout because they can sit a little heavy on my stomach. But the great thing about overnight oats is they're already done. They're convenient, and you can eat them as soon as you wake up if you know that you're working out an hour or so later. and that gives you a little more time for that digestive process at least. So
Yeah. And you could have half your overnight oats too, right? Like
yeah.
generally the shorter the window of time before your workout, the smaller your meal should be to avoid upsetting your stomach.
Yeah.
And of course, liquid foods like shakes and smoothies, you could have a
Mhm.
smoothie, put your banana in there with yogurt and protein powder and everything. That has a faster transit time through your stomach. So that can also be a really good choice.
Mhm.
Generally, things that require a lot of chewing are harder to digest. And so you need a longer, time before you work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think easy to digest foods before working out, unless you have plenty of time for it to digest.
Exactly, exactly. So some examples of pre-workout meals could be half a banana, half a cup of yogurt, like you said,
Mhm.
an apple or any kind of piece of fruit and a hard-boiled egg. The protein shake that we mentioned with berries and protein powder.
Mhm.
The overnight oats, you could have half of it, our high protein banana blueberry pancakes could do something like that.
Mhm.
Eggs and toast and jam are great, right? But the most important thing is that you listen to your body. And that's tip number 3, right? You
Mhm.
find a formula that works for you. It's very personal. I know bodybuilders who just cannot eat in the morning at all, so they have a protein shake and then they have their big meal right after. And
Mhm.
just listen and experiment, and you will find a way that something that works for you. But please be open to having some calories before or during your workout in order to get optimal results.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I
So,
think you covered that pretty well.
okay, thanks. All right, well, have there been any questions in the comments at all?
No questions, but Melissa said hi, and then Joan has been doing a fantastic job saying hi to people, and she did
Great.
say congratulations again on your success at your meet.
Thank you. And thanks for tuning in, Melissa. We appreciate it. Okay, well, I think that's a wrap. Maybe next time we will talk about intra-workout nutrition and post-workout nutrition, what to eat after your workout in order to get the best possible results. How's that
Or,
sound?
sounds good. Or what you might want to eat during a workout.
Yeah,
And
the
and
intra-workout nutrition.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Do you eat much during your workouts?
Mine aren't typically long enough to where
Yeah.
I need to. So I do add a little bit of collagen into my workout drink. So I
Yeah.
guess technically I sip on a little bit of protein, even though it's not a complete protein source.
Yeah. We could talk about it not just for like your 1 hour gym sessions, but maybe going for a long hike for 4 hours.
Yes.
You're
Oh yeah,
definitely going to
I
want
definitely
some
eat then.
nutrition. Yeah.
I eat then.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks for everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.